Friday morning, everybody, and we are live on the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube, and LinkedIn, believe it or not. Nadine plugged in her Friendster account and MySpace early this morning, so we're probably live there too. We happen to have some special guests on this Friday. Nadine, Kelly, and Jamie are some of the rock stars of the world. They probably have some gold medals and some world records with them, but what they're really good at is Hyperdocs and a whole lot of other things. So I'm going to hand it off to Nadine. Nadine, I'm sure we're going to have a packed house because of this illustrious group we have, but have fun, everybody.
All right. Thanks so much, Mark. All right, everybody. So my name is Nadine Gilkison, and I am the District Technology Integration Specialist at Franklin Township Schools, located on the southeast side of Indianapolis. And today our session is going to be covering how to shift from a assigner to a designer with Hyperdocs. And with that, I was able to ask Mark if I could have a couple of guests today, which I'm really excited about. The first person is Kelly Hilton, who's one of the co-authors of Hyperdocs. And Jamie Ledbetter is actually one of our high school biology teachers in the district where I'm a tech coach. I'm going to let them give a little bit more of an introduction about themselves now. So I'll let Kelly start off first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Hilton. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Nadine, for including me in this important conversation. I'm located in the Bay Area of California, and my daily job is with the Pleasanton Unified School District, where I work as a professional development integration specialist.
Cool.
Perfect. I'm Jamie Ledbetter. Hi, everyone. As Nadine said, I'm a biology teacher in our district, Franklin Township, here in Indianapolis. So I'm really excited to be a part of this conversation. And thanks, Nadine, for letting me join you.
All right. So we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to have Kelly start us off by giving us an introduction of what a Hyperdoc is. And it might not be what you are instantly thinking it is. Okay, so I'm going to let Kelly take it away.
Thanks, Nadine. Yeah, I'm very excited to talk about Hyperdocs because they're all over Twitter and Facebook, and they're really just these incredible digital lesson plans that teachers create, and they package all together and they share with each other. And so there's a whole community that's been developed around Hyperdocs. If you want to learn more, we do have a website that's called the Hyperdoc website. It's at hyperdocs.co. But really, the background of Hyperdocs is that we were asking ourselves, how can we truly change learning in the classroom? And when I say we, I say my two partners, Lisa Highfill and Sarah Landis and I. Back in 2013, we coined the term Hyperdoc to describe our new lesson design and template that we were using in the classrooms. Because what we realized is that the traditional way that we learned how to plan lessons and deliver instruction in the classroom when we began our journey as educators had completely shifted when students were handed technology in the classroom. So when we got those Chromebooks and those iPads delivered, we started asking ourselves, how could we do more with this than just the testing? Because they started to come in when we shifted into using technology for online testing. So our district adopted Google Apps for Education, and we started designing lessons in this way. So things you can do with the Hyperdoc, we talk about how you can, deliberately choose web tools and give them to students. And what's different about it is that students have all the lesson plan in one place, and they can follow along with you. You still deliver instruction from the Hyperdoc, but they're following along with you. So with that, we've designed this basic Hyperdoc template that gives an overview of the shift in pedagogy for a Hyperdoc. So we start with an engagement activity, and then our cycle of learning is to start and explore the content. So we realized that with the technology in the hands of the students, we could give them the content before we were teaching it and allow them to explore and get curious about it. And then after that activity, move into an explanation or direct instruction. What makes a hyperdoc is that you really zoom in on this apply section. And in the apply, we're thinking and asking ourselves, what is it that I could do now that I couldn't do before? So teachers are designing different ways to show their learning in different ways. We also built in an opportunity for students to share, reflect, and have extensions. So this is an example of a template that's on the website that for Google users, you can go ahead and go to File and make a copy, and then you would have the template and you could put your own lessons into it. But really, if you want to learn more about what Hyperdocs are and how they're defined and what makes them unique and different, we also have a course that's called What is a Hyperdoc? It's an introductory course, and in this course, we just talk about some of the stuff that I'm talking about. There's in true fashion for the way that we teach our students. In this course, we also teach teachers to understand what it is through explore, explain, and then they apply their learning as well. So the website has these courses that teach about Hyperdocs and multimedia text sets. And also you can go through and just learn more about what exactly they are.
Now, just as a connection with that, so how I got into Hyperdocs so much in my school district, we were starting to roll out several Chromebook cards, and we were starting to look at going more at a one-to-one in our grades 6 through 12. And so I happened to stumble across the Hyperdoc handbook as I was honestly looking for something else on Amazon, and then it popped up. And then I got excited and I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. I read the book and it was definitely a game changer for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was experiencing as a tech coach in my school district. And that I always feel like that I can't be upset with teachers if they're only using a piece of technology as consumption, because that means that they just don't know what else to do with the device. So I needed to provide PD on other options. So Hyperdocs have been key. Now, that being said, in my school district, we actually are a blend of Google Classroom and Canvas LMS. So because we knew that we were going one-to-one at grades 6 through 12, we were rolling out Canvas at the same time that we were getting more devices. So a common question that I got from my teachers as we were starting to roll this out was, I love Hyperdocs, but what would this look like in Canvas? And so I'm excited today because we're really going to try to help everyone, not just people in my own school district, but I know that there's many people that use Canvas, and they've always wondered, how in the world do you package what you see that a Hyperdoc does, and what does that look like inside of Canvas? So we've created some different documents, and Jamie has helped me out with that as well. I do want to have Kelly go over with us. I love the concept of remixing a lesson. So that to me is what made the most sense to understand a Hyperdoc. Because every teacher is constantly remixing their lessons. They may have, oh, well, this is my version from a couple of years ago, and we're constantly working on our craft and making it better. So as I've gotten to use Hyperdocs more, I actually know the 3 girls really well that are the authors, and they always refer back to this lesson design and showing the original and a second run and a final. So before we start talking about what this looks like in Canvas, I told her I felt like that it would be very beneficial for you guys to see the progression. So Kelly, I'll let you start us off. And then once we see what this lesson looks like, then we're going to start to talk about what this is going to look like in Canvas.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Nadine. I think that when we think about remixing lessons, we think about our own journey and progression that teachers are on as we're learning new tools and technology. And certainly right now, it's very timely. And with remote teaching, everyone's really pushing themselves to find solutions and better ways to use technology. So I'm just going to quickly show this progression of a teacher that we work with who shared his process with us. And when you think about using Canvas or Google Apps for Education or any other LMS system that you're starting to integrate technology with, you might have your original lesson that it might look like this. So in this little like Hyperdoc journey story, I'm going to take you on a journey. This teacher was teaching high school social studies, and this was the assignment that he started with. And so this looks very like a lot of assignments that I designed over the years. In fact, it might have been in a Word doc or a PDF or what have you. And then the lesson is a great lesson, but this is what it looks like. And so it starts with like, answer these questions, complete these different discussion questions, go to a New York Times journal, and then read this text. So this was the beginning of the assignment. And you might recognize this as something that you might put into Canvas as one link to a daily assignment. But after he started integrating Google Apps for Education, he decided to take that assignment and shake it up a little bit, and that became his first run at trying to do technology integration. So he moves on to a Google document, embedding a table and building in a Google form for students to respond, and he can collect their thinking, and he's trying to build in some collaboration here. Their students are invited to read document A, document B, and start writing out their claims and thinking, and then asking the questions around it. So this was his next run of how do I take that lesson and start transforming it into a more deeper level of integration of technology. And it worked great at that time for his own personal journey for engaging students. And at the end here, you'll notice that there's this like final analysis and project that they're starting to be asked to do. After those two activities and trying it out in those two different ways, he started to learn about Hyperdocs and was able to design something that looks like this. Now, Hyperdocs are not just pretty images and docs with links. I'm going to talk you through a little bit how he instructed from this and how that shifted the instruction. Because in the first two documents, it's really just an assignment for students to read through and for the teacher to monitor that they actually completed the work. So we kind of call that the assigning piece. But as we talk through this Hyperdoc, let's consider how he became more of a designer. The first slide itself has the learning objective of what are we going to learn? What happened to the USS Maine? And it includes this visual image that's going to engage students. So as a designer, you want to think about how you're going to first tell them what they're going to learn and how you're going to engage them. The second slide that he has an opportunity for students to explore. And he's now taken those two documents that students were reading and he's linked them up. And after they partner up and one student reads one text and another student reads another one, he invites them to just have a discussion around that. And so that's linked to a Padlet here where students can start having a discussion about what they read digitally. So before he's taught anything, this exploration has taken place. And then the third part of his design is what he wanted the students to know specifically. He's pulled out these two videos and embedded them onto the slides and said, I love this, the way he talks to his students. Watch one or both of these videos. He's really trying to pull them in and give them a little teaser. I mean, if I'm a student and I have a choice, I may actually just watch both. It's just one way of kind of engaging students. And then this is where it created more of a Hyperdoc. In the apply section, he asked students to show what you know by answering those questions, and they have an opportunity to choose which tech tool they want to use to show what they know. So they can use a drawing, Google Drawing, a ThingLink, a Picto chart, or a Powtoon to create a political cartoon. And all of that package lesson together is how he shifted from assigning, from putting that one document with directions into giving that to students to really designing lessons and teaching from the Hyperdoc.
We had a question that popped up from Stephanie Bridges, and it says, are Hyperdocs ADA compliant?
It depends on how you're designing them, and I do encourage you to work with your technology integration coaches at your district. We a lot of the work we do within our school district, we make sure that the tools that we recommend and the way that they're designed are all compliant that way.
Yes, and I would agree with that as well. You know, it all is about, you know, how the teacher is designing the lesson. Now, once we start to talk about what this looks like in Canvas, I know that there are different modes inside of Canvas that it can make sure that it's absolutely ADA compliant. So I'll make sure that I highlight that. Also, I did want to jump in and say that I always remind people how Kelly was talking about student voice and choice. I get people all the time that will say, oh, well, I've already made something, and yeah, it's probably a Hyperdoc. So then, you know, I'm not evaluating them, but they'll ask me to take a look at it. And the two components that I look for are just like how she said that teacher said, it wasn't just watch this one video. It was, I'm giving you choice. I gave you several videos. You get to choose if you want to watch one or if you want to watch both, and then have that discussion. And the ultimate is the creation. You know, when we get to that apply, and he has in there the built-in choices, to me as a district tech integrator, this is where I have to help out our teachers the most. They're really good about finding articles, finding videos, finding things to build that Hyperdoc, but they're very shy whenever it comes to the point of being able to get to the apply. And I said, you know what, that's where you lean on me and lean on others that have tried it.
I think that's where the shift happened for us as well, because what we were asking students to do had changed. And then beyond that, like allowing them to share their work with each other, allowing them to really redesign and be in that continuous progress of learning, it really shifted our classrooms to be more about learning. But Nadine just said it, the learning cycle for a Hyperdoc is really explore, as you see here, as that first slide. At first, give them the content, allow them to explore. And I do think a lot of us live here. We have the material, we have the multimedia, and we give that to students in a variety of ways. But do we give that to them before we teach them the content? So that learning cycle shifting from explore to explain, and then the apply where you're asking them to do something new. So you'll notice that those three steps are embedded in the Hyperdoc template when we've gone beyond that, but that is a great place to start. Just thinking about explore, explain, apply when you first begin designing Hyperdocs. And then we talk about how to weave all of those other elements in as you progress as a designer as well.
So we had another question from Lisa Perry. It says, I'm confused. Is a Hyperdoc just a Google Doc or Google Slide, or is it a specific Google app?
That is the best question. Thank you, Lisa, for saying that. We get that question a lot. A Hyperdoc is designing the pedagogy of the lesson plan. So although it has the word doc in it, it can be built on a Google document. It can be built in Google Slides. And today we're going to talk about how you can build the same kind of teaching and learning lessons within Canvas. And that actually is a great segue into the next slide, right, Nadine?
Yes, it is. So packaging is a question that gets asked a lot. People will say, you know, just like how you mentioned, you know, is there one way that you have to package it? And the answer is no. And even, you know, even though she's showing you Google Slides and in a Google Doc, I've even seen them created inside of just a thing link. In Google Maps, there's lots of different ways. And that's what I love about it, is that I love the fact that they're not saying this is the only way that it can be packaged. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at what does the packaging look like inside of Canvas. And Jamie, I'm going to have you share your screen.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So where I sort of started with this, I'm actually fairly new to Hyperdocs. I have only done maybe 3. So I knew when I started them, I loved seeing what Nadine was doing at our elementaries, and I wanted to bring that to our secondary. And I knew my end goal was to be something inside Canvas where students didn't necessarily have to leave the Canvas website. So where I started first was
for just a second, Jamie, just so people know, this template that you're seeing in here, you're fine. This template that you're seeing in here is actually already live in Canvas Commons. I've been working on it all week, and I kind of teased about it on Twitter earlier, and then my Twitter blew up with everybody saying, is it on Commons? Is it on Commons now? So it is. It's totally live, and everything that Jamie and I have built inside of this course, you can just type in my name, and you will be able to find it on Commons right now whenever you want to take a look at it. But all the examples that Jamie's going to go through and that I'm going to go through, we have it set up in a module format, and it starts out that the top module is actually just the straight up template. Like I literally just made the headers. Jamie, can I have you go back to the homepage for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to have Jamie scroll down. So what I did was I created those buttons and made a template in Canvas, but I wanted to make sure that people knew that it was customizable. Okay, so I'm gonna have Jamie scroll down towards the bottom of that page, and it says notes to teachers on there. A couple of things I wanted you guys to know offhand is that I'm giving you access to the Google Drawings template to make your own buttons. So they don't have to look exactly like mine. I just wanted to go ahead and give you some headers. Also, the header that's at the top where it says Hyperdoc template, you also have access to the Google Drawings template, so you can customize that. And Jamie and I will go into showing you, like, this is a straight up template, but then we're going to show you, she has made an example, and then we're going to go into the remix of the lesson that Kelly showed you earlier. All right, Jamie, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I'm actually going to start showing you what I started in my own Canvas course when I first did a Hyperdoc. I just created one in Google Slides, and I embedded it into an assignment, and they made their own copy of the Hyperdoc and then submitted it. So it was kind of getting started there. It was in Canvas, but it wasn't really what I wanted, but it got the job done. So that's one way that you can go about doing it. You can go through and make them the Google Slides like we've been showing you. But what Nadine and I were kind of working towards was doing something 100% or as 100% as we could be in Canvas. So that's where we started working with the modules and the templates. And I took the same assignment, but turned it into something that was mostly on Canvas. So this is kind of like we were saying, where you can customize your own buttons and your own header to make it look the way that you want it, however it fits into your classroom.
Which I love our Bitmojis, by the way.
Thank you.
I love it, Jamie. Nice job.
So when we went through Engage, I wanted the students to kind of get familiar with an ecosystem. So I just started with a video that I want them to watch to kind of get them focused on what we were doing and thinking about how an ecosystem works. What we went into next was kind of like an exploration. It's sort of like, I don't know if any of you have ever done a web quest, but it's kind of a similar idea where I was going with this. So they had quite a few different resources they had to go through, and they were answering questions about them, basically exploring the nutrient cycles. And they were it's similar to what I was doing before. So I just took the slides I already had for my explore section, and then they uploaded their completed document in an assignment. So instead of making the entire thing one assignment, we're going through Canvas, and they're going through and exploring this before I've actually taught them anything yet. I love the Canvas option of Big Blue Button and their conferences option. So I was thinking more along the lines of our digital learning that we're doing now. So the Explain is where I was doing a live session with them using the Canvas conferences, and we would talk about and explain how matter and energy flows through. So you could even put in the Big Blue Button in there. You could do Zoom, you could do really anything. And you could even make it live in class too. It doesn't have to all be digital. For apply, this is where I kind of struggled because I, at first, only gave them the option of using Animoto. So I love the idea of giving them choice. So this is where they could do an Animoto or a Google Slides for their apply. And it's, again, another assignment where they are going to just upload their assignment here. And it's already got the rubric in there for them to see. And it's just all packaged in together. That's one thing I love about Canvas is how the students can see everything they need all in one spot.
And that's the benefit of doing this in Canvas is that you guys are able to layer in, you know, I like how Jamie took pieces of what she'd already started in Google Slides, and then she was able to break it out into Canvas. And that's what we really wanted to be able to show you guys today is that there are so many robust Canvas tools that it's not that you're, you know, only doing Google Slides. It's that you can layer in these items for Canvas. And Jamie, that you have people saying they want to do your assignment right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. So the last couple of things to reflect, really, that's just a way for students to kind of think about what they've already done and to see what other students have done too, and kind of compare that to themselves, basically to learn more. I love for the students to learn from each other. That's one of the greatest things I think that I can give to them is not just learning from me, but learning from each other. So I had them upload their, actually that's in the next part, I think, but the reflect, they're thinking about how they are going to apply what they're doing. So I asked them a couple of questions and then asked them to reply to classmates too. So kind of thinking off of each other and feeding off of each other on how can I apply this to the real world and what I see every single day. And that also goes along with the apply that we're going to get to next. Extend is really just a place where I put a bunch of links for them, different things for them to go deeper. Because, you know, you always have that student that is like, I want to know more. I want to know more. Or a student who just doesn't understand it yet and might need another way to kind of think about it. So extend is just a way for you to give them more of what you're wanting them to learn.
So Jamie did a really good job of being able to share with us, you know, different ways that we can layer in these tools. When we got to the share portion of her doing her Hyperdoc inside of Canvas, this is where we had to, you know, think about how would we collect the student work. And what I want you to think about is because you're giving students choice, they're not just doing one option. So you have to have a platform for them to be able to turn in their work where they can share a link since you're giving them those student choices. So Jamie, how did you decide to do that?
So when I did the assignment where they were making their Animoto or their Google Slides, you can set it up to where they can turn in multiple modes of however they decided. If they did their Google Slide or if they did their Animoto, they can either paste a link to their Animoto video or they can upload their Google Doc. They can upload their own video that they've done. So you can have them turn in different platforms on Canvas. But you're the only one that can see that. So my thought around the share with each other was I turned it into a discussion where they could either paste the link to their video or the link to their Google Slides, and then other students can see what their classmates created and kind of learn from that too. See, oh, well, they did it this way and I really like that. So that can also help them grow in their own education, coming up with ways that they can, you know, make their projects better in the future.
Cool. If I can have you show them how we don't have to show the whole thing, but I wanted to have you show them how I remixed the original lesson that Kelly had shown us earlier. So that's a separate module. So what I started out by doing, notice how the header is different up at the top. So rather than changing all of the buttons, I kept the buttons the same, but I wanted you to see this is how you can customize that header and you can add in your objective. If you scroll to the bottom, Jamie, I also gave everybody the links to the 3 versions of the lesson, because after you leave this live discussion, if you want to share this with somebody or when you find this on comments, I know that's the piece that's going to mean the most to you is you're going to go, oh, well, this is what I created before. And now I can see all of the steps of what I can do. So I'll have her show just a few pieces of this if you want to start the module with the syncing of the main.
Yeah, and you want me to just start it at Engage?
Sure.
Okay.
So earlier when Kelly was showing us how the teacher had gone ahead and taken a picture and had a discussion, basically I just pulled that from the Google Slides and I put it in here on the Engage part. Now you could layer in a discussion if you wanted to, but it could also be something live in class. So we decided to leave this one as, that this one is one that we just want them to think about. So go ahead on to the next. On Explore, he had that option about reading different newspaper articles. So if I would have had more time to get ready for today, I was actually going to layer in and pull off, having those direct links. But what I decided to do was I took apart his last Google Slides that he had done, and then we embedded it on here, but we already had the directions. And I felt like this was more visual, and I thought I didn't want to lose the visual. I felt like I was reverting back if I was just going to layer in just a bunch of links. I thought, I need it to be more visual. So now what the students can do is they can actually tap on the newspaper articles and it will link them out to it. And then he has what he expects them to do in there as well. At the bottom, Jamie, and we added a discussion thread, didn't we?
Yeah, they were asked to describe what they thought the publication was describing.
Okay. So then I'll have her go to the next slide here. You can have more than one on the Explore. So on this one, I loved this activity that he had, so I knew I had to include it in here. He had a slide where he had a Yoda and he had them choosing, A or B, and it was really cool. So the student selects Article A or B that they read about the USS Maine. And then after they do that, when they go to the next slide, then they have to complete a Google form. Now, again, if I would have had longer, I would have embedded the Google form on here. But we just wanted to give you guys an idea. But on the Google form, they had to predict what they thought happened to the USS Maine based on the article that they read. Jamie, if you'll go to the next slide, go to the inside of the Google Slides. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. You want the Google form?
Yeah, I wanted them to see what he does with the results after because I thought it was pretty cool. Yes, one more. There you go. So what he does is then he gives the students access to be able to see the results of what the class said about both articles, and then they analyze the results. To me, that is such a game changer versus, hey, just read it and tell me what you thought, or read it and answer some questions. So he's definitely taking this up a level. So I wanted to demonstrate, some of the ways that he's turning it from that assigner to designer. He's purposely designing those activities. All right, if you want to go to the next one, Jamie, sorry.
You're okay.
So on the explain, again, this is where we've got 2 videos, and then I put on here, well, what if you were doing a Zoom chat with your class? If you were having them work on the assignment, and then you said, I want you to watch one or both, and then we're going to discuss it during our Zoom call that we're going to do as a class. That's an option too. I'll have Jamie go to the next one. We'll show you just a little bit more of this. So his choice board. I had to remix his choice board. And one thing I did want to say is I always tell teachers, don't get overwhelmed. Like, when Jamie and I were talking last night, she realized, I only have Animoto in here. And I said, well, let's just add one other option. Mm-hmm. Nobody needs to get all crazy and add like 6 or 7 options. You can, build up to that. Do 2. When you get more comfortable, add 3, and so on. So in this one, I just basically took his same choice board and had that just layered inside of Canvas. Again, I don't have a rubric attached, but we figured that you guys could get the idea so that you could see that within Jamie's sample. All right. Actually, Jamie, if you'll go back to the home for the course, we want to talk about a couple of the things that we added at the very bottom. In addition to helping you guys make your own buttons, at the very bottom here, I mean, honestly, I'm so excited about this workshop because I've been wanting to do this Jamie knows, I've been wanting to do this for so long in my own district. And I'm very excited to see what my teachers, and I saw somebody comment earlier, they said, oh my gosh, I can totally rethink how I'm going to set up my classroom for next year, and I can work on it this summer. Mm-hmm. That's why I love the timing of this, that Mark was able to have us come on and do this session. So there's 2 documents in here I know that you guys are going to love. Let's first do, Jamie, the Hyperdoc and Canvas connection. You want to
okay, Hyperdoc and Canvas connection. There it is.
Yes, scroll back up to the top. So you guys have links to this document. So literally what I did was I talked to Kelly about this, and I pulled the definition from the Hyperdocs website. I have it layered like next to engage. But then I'm going to give a shout out to Joanna Ray. She was awesome this week as well. She worked with me and Jamie on making sure that how does this translate into Canvas? So you're going to see where it says tools to integrate. We started with core Canvas items, then Canvas integrations, which would be those LTIs. And then the Hyperdocs site has a bunch of other additional options. And so we were trying, yes, Joanna is awesome. And so I wanted to make sure that we were doing the best of both worlds. So as she goes through and she glides down, we did that work for you. And Jamie even said to me that it was really helpful as she was converting from the Google Slides and putting it into Canvas. I don't know if you want to talk about that more, Jamie.
It really was. Especially I tend to do a lot of my work late at night because when else am I going to do my work, right? But it was really nice to not have to think like, okay, how can I mix this up and have to come up with the idea totally on your own. It's so helpful. This actually was the night that this was finished, and I was like, oh, we have that document. I'm going to take a look at that. And it really helped to spark more ideas for me too. Rather than just sticking with what I know, it allowed me to think outside the box a little bit and use something I hadn't used before, used a different integration that I hadn't used before.
Which is my hope. And that made me feel good when Jamie said that, because I thought, oh, good. So that way I can share that with teachers and they can, you could print that out. You could just have that on another tab as you're trying to work through this process. Mm-hmm. The other document that I wanted to definitely have, if you want to pull it up, is FAQs, because, hey, I know how this is going to go. As we start to roll this out, people are going to go, yeah, well, what about this or what about that? So I tried to think of the top FAQs. And of course, I know me, and this is a living document. I know people would keep asking me, what's a Hyperdoc? So I literally just pulled that from their website again. What if they keep asking, well, isn't it just a doc with links? No, it's not. And of course, I couldn't resist having the friends Bitmojis or having the friends GIFs in here too. They just fit perfectly. So I wanted to layer in and have the answers to the top questions that you, or if you decide to share this out with somebody, these are the questions that they're probably going to ask you. If you want to keep scrolling just a little bit farther. So then it says, how do I know? I already talked to you about that. How do you know if it's really a Hyperdoc? You've got to have student voice and choice. If you don't have those layered in and creation, then I have to tell people it's really good. You're really close, but it's not quite there. Grading. People ask a lot of questions about grading. Jamie, I don't know if you want to talk about that. I know on the doc I listed, no one says that you have to grade every single piece. But if you want to talk about some of the options with kind of grading and participation, how would that manage in Canvas?
Honestly, it's really up to the teacher. You could just kind of look at completion, kind of scroll through. I obviously would want to scroll through their discussions that they have with each other just to make sure everybody is using proper digital citizenship and being kind to one another, and actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. Because if you know high schoolers at all, they're oftentimes not doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that's one thing that I wouldn't necessarily need to give them a grade for, but I would want to check and make sure they're doing it properly. But I really would want to focus and think about what I want them to get out of this. And what I really wanted was to see their finished Google Slides or Animoto projects. So that's where I really focused the majority of my time, was looking at that final product, so I could see how did they get out of this what I thought they were going to get out of this. So I think kind of the way I feel about it is kind of the explore and explain. That's kind of where you're facilitating them as they go. You don't necessarily need to give them a hardcore grade on it because they're still learning.
Right. And I do like the fact that we were talking at one point about, like, do you organize this as just pages or in modules? And what we did like was that when you organize it in the module, you're able to see the progress. Am I right, Jamie?
Yeah. So I can, if I have them turn in things, like if I have them post on the discussion or turn in a document, Canvas will tell me that I have something turned in. So you can see, if that's something you want to do, is check on their progress. You can see whether they've turned in something or not.
Cool. So both of those are really good things. What we hope to have happen by being able to share all of these tools with you guys today is the fact that we can give you a jump start on your planning. One of the last things about Hyperdocs I want to make sure is that it's all about the sharing community. There is a very active Facebook group, and Kelly can probably talk about the different groups here in a minute. But having that very active Facebook group, but being able to give back, just like how Jamie and I made this on Canvas Commons so anybody can use it. What we would like to encourage you guys to do, because right now, if I go out to Canvas Commons, I'll be honest, I don't get much. There's not very many that are being posted there. So we're hoping that we can help build that community, that if you guys are going to take this template, please give back and share what you have, because remixing a Hyperdoc is a big thing too. Okay. Kelly, do you want to have any like closing moments about,
I just want to thank you both. I think those lessons are just amazing. The thinking behind your lesson design, Jamie, your students are so lucky. It was very layered. It just seems like really engaging to me. I love all the parts that you added. And I just want to reiterate, like you said, you were looking for ideas as you looked at Nadine's document where she has additional resources. I did add one more additional resource to that document as well, where you can link to a free ebook that has it says just tons of ideas on how to show what you know. So we call it the ultimate guide, just showing what you know, because it is what do you mean apply? How do I do this differently? I think that's where we can get creative and share with each other.
And Kelly, if you want to pull that up, we have a little bit more time if you want to, because I took a look at it and it was awesome.
Yeah, great little ebook. So yeah, I'll pull that up too. And the other thing I just wanted to say was, as far as the sharing goes, we have a site called Teachers Give Teachers. So if you're building in the G Suite and want to share in that way, and then in Canvas, you can get ideas from that site and then rebuild them in Canvas. And as Nadine mentioned, the Facebook group is incredibly active, and teachers will go in there and say, I teach, high school biology, and I'm looking for a lesson on ecosystems. Can you help me out? And then 20 different teachers at a given day will add their own lessons and ideas. So if you're a collaborator and you love that positive energy of designing, I just really encourage you to join those conversations in the Facebook group as well. Let me pull that ebook up for you.
And I love the comments coming in. I'm glad to see that so many people are happy that we're doing this today, because, I had a feeling that a lot of people were wanting this, and I'm very happy that we were able to do it.
It's so exciting.
And we do have a link. I know Kelly's pulling it up right now. We have a link in the apply section for you to have access to the booklet that gives you more ideas.
Yeah, so here's where you go to the booklet, but I want to pull the actual booklet up. So let me stop sharing and do that really quickly.
Sorry, and I put her on the spot here.
No worries, this is it.
On the name of the Facebook group, I believe, is it just Hyperdocs?
Just Hyperdocs, yes.
Hyperdocs, yeah, that's it.
And I know some of the tips, like whenever you're trying to find something on the Facebook group, use the search, and you can type in what you're looking for. And that
we're doing little Facebook Lives on Saturdays where we're just featuring teachers who talk about lesson design. We're featuring different topics around remote teaching and learning. So if you like this kind of way of learning, you're welcome to join us on Saturdays at 11, from 11 to 11:30. In that group, we do a little live with guests and different Hyperdoc designers. So it's all good, fun stuff because collaboration all comes together, right?
Absolutely.
All right, and here's the ebook, so you can just check it out. It's just got other ideas for you as far as show what you know. For example, the table of contents has the overview, but it's like design an infographic, and you might use Google Drawing or slides, or maybe you want to send students to Canva or Pictochart. So you'll notice that we just recommend different tools and the different ways that students can show their learning. Adobe Spark Video is one of my favorite video creation tools because they have templates built into it. And it's a nice starting space for showing what you know. But WeVideo can feature a lot more layered types of videos that students create. So this book just has a bunch of ideas. And if you're looking for, what do you mean by apply? How can we get kids to show what you know? That's what's in this ebook for you.
Yeah, so definitely take a look at that. I know we've actually even gone over our time, but I'm excited because you guys did so great today. And definitely go out and check out hyperdocs.co, go out to Canvas Commons and find the template. Also, I know that, I'm pretty active on Twitter, and I try to share every time that I make a Hyperdoc or that I make another resource to go with Canvas. So just make sure to go out and follow me, follow the others, and hopefully you guys got a lot out of it.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks so much.